Hello, welcome to Star Wars Spelt Out. I'm your host, Josh Chapman, and today, hey man, rev up that sweet little motorbike. Get excited, you street punks. It's episode 3 of Book of Boba Fett. We've got Eli on the phone again, on the blower. How you going, man?
I'm good. Back for more.
Back for more. Hungry for more. Back and hungry for more. Now, it's funny because we pretty much just finished at the same time, actually. You were kind of going, oh, it might be a while. I got to do dinner and do life stuff. We got to put kids to bed. So it's all, we've all finished. You finished about 2 minutes after I finished, I think. So this is all very, very fresh.
Brilliant. I like that your life stuff is putting kids to bed, and I had to finish off the episode of The Office I was watching over dinner. So,
right.
Different responsibilities.
Got to find out if Jim and Pam are going to get together or not.
it's a big deal.
Anything could happen. Hey, man, they took 10 episodes of the British Office for it to happen, and it took 300 of the American Office to happen. So
can't rush a good thing, whatever.
Can't rush a good thing. Talk about rushing a good thing. Immediate thoughts about this episode. A bit different tonally. Weird, lots of huge tone shifts, I thought.
I feel like a lot of what we saw in this episode is stuff we should have seen in episode 1. It felt like they were just like, all right, let's take a minute and just see what's actually going on around here. He got out in the streets, he sort of started asking some questions, and it was like, oh, okay, so now this is what he's actually doing. He's trying to deal with his warring families and factions, and this is who was before, and this is who he's up against now.
I feel like that's probably the first thing you should find out when you start. Yeah. Especially when it seems like the robot that's there the whole time can just tell you.
Yeah, he had all this information. There was zero fact finding. It was just oh, hey, here's your welcome packet. Do you want to actually look at it now?
Nah. I think I'll just go out and crack, ask some questions, ruffle some feathers. I'll worry about the facts later on.
Look, that would have been fine if the questions he was asking weren't really dumb. that exchange he had with the teen gang in the street was just embarrassing. He's just oh, what are you guys doing? It's stole this water, and he's shouldn't you pay for it? It's we don't have jobs, and he's literally just sort of hey, get a job. He has no idea what's going on.
He's just a conservative phone-in caller. He's just why don't these young people just get jobs? What are they doing standing around the streets? They're just hey, old man, get with the times. For a bunch of...
He just keeps bouncing off whatever the latest person has told him. That guy comes into his thing, into his palace, and he's oh, help me out. He's you know what? I'm going to help you out. And he goes to see the kids, and they're hey, help us out. And he's I'm going to help you out.
And the detriment of the guy I was supposed to help out.
Yeah. He's just whoever's hit him last, he's yeah, you're where I'm at.
Back to the basement for you, Milton. So too bad. There were some sweet cameos in there. I mean, we should talk. I don't even know where to start. I feel like I was on a roller coaster of a lot of stuff happening. I mean, let's talk about that bike gang. World's cleanest, least intimidating bike gang ever.
Oh, the Vespa squad.
For a bunch of kids who live on a shithole sand planet, very clean, very polished. For apparently kids who are struggling to get by. Can't get work, having to steal water to survive.
Got some clean clothes.
Got some clean clothes.
Nice hair.
Yeah. Spending all their water money on avocado and toast. And
or fancy, electronic eyeballs. That guy, he made a point to be hey, this cost a lot of money. So
bunch of rich kids just pretending to slum it, basically.
Hipsters. They're just the tattooing hipsters.
I know, just a bunch of hipsters. I thought it was fine. Why not? Why not have some little sort of biker gangs? There's biker gangs, and then there's these guys. I feel if these guys got messed with those biker gangs that Boba Fett messed with in the last episode, probably wouldn't have lasted that long.
Oh yeah, that was a biker gang. That was a real biker gang. These guys are just posers.
These guys are just some rich kid posers looking to break some windows or something.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's go back to the start. I don't have the episode in front of me, so I can't sort of scroll through it, obviously. But like you said, it sort of starts off with him getting the goss, getting the sort of the lay of the land, figuring out, what's going on with this this actual crime family that I've supposedly inherited. And yeah. And then goes, all right, Stephen Root turns up. Always nice to see Stephen Root and stuff.
Yeah, it was
nice. Says, need some help, get street level, all that kind of stuff. Like you said, talks to the biker gang, and then basically just offers them a job. I mean, he's only got 3 employees, so might as well.
I don't know what his like revenue stream is, to be honest. It feels like he's getting paid in,
Tributes.
condolences and food, apparently. So I don't know what kind of paycheck he's doling out.
Well, if these guys are breaking skulls for water, maybe that's just, maybe he's like, hey, just come in and, you can live in my palace. It's got plenty of room. You can have all the chrome paint you can handle to keep your bikes clean. That's another thing. Like, are they using that water to keep their bikes shiny?
I have no idea. But even like in the midst of the chase, they were just spotless.
I know. It felt like I was watching the Power Rangers. There was like the Green Ranger and the Red Ranger or Voltron. Like, it was very like, there's the red one, there's the blue one, there's the yellow one, there's the...
I felt like the pacing of the chase was a little weird. Like,
it did. It felt like it was running... It felt like it was running in half speed or something. Like, I'm going, is it like a comedy? Like, because I was really curious about who directed it. It was Robert Rodriguez at the end too, and I'm like, this feels like it's like, is it a joke that it's almost like a car chase at half volume, like the world's slowest car chase around the streets?
Like, I could imagine somebody running faster to get ahead.
Yeah, it's like the world's worst getaway driver getting away from the world's least intimidating bike gang.
And then at the end, like he does the Back to the Future spin out, and hits a crate, and like a bunch of fruit just like smothers his car.
I know, like, why couldn't he just be having a big pile of panther shit fall in there? Like, missed a trick.
Well, that would have been it. I was really expecting after the like the little water tower fell over and the other speeder bike like did a slide on it. I was half expecting it to just conk out and him just like, oh man, these don't work on water unless you have power. Missed opportunity.
So he gets the biker gang to basically come and work for him, and then we get I think, do we go straight to the flashback then? I can't remember.
Like it. Yeah, he just like, oh, that's me done for the day, so time to go home to the back to tank.
Yeah, that's me done. I've exerted myself slightly, so now I'm going to.
I was a little stressed because like the second it showed the establishing shot of the back to tank, I was like, if it is all flashback for the rest of the episode again, I'm going to be a little disappointed. But they cut it nice and short, just a tape.
I think we said last week we were talking about it that it's probably going to start shifting. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be a point where it's like, well, he's, what else is there to say, really? And it was kind of like, well, things don't bode well for these Tuscans, I thought, and we'll get to that in a sec. But he gets on his banther and trundles down to Mos Eisley, which is, it's always nice to see Mos Eisley. And I did spot the lady from the landing bay in The Mandalorian,
the mechanic with the pictoids. That was nice.
She was sort of like walking around the background there. It was a nice touch that it was obviously just after the Empire had fallen. They were sticking the trooper things on the spikes and stuff. And I actually thought there'd be a bit where he's like, what the hell's going on here? And they're like, the freaking Empire's gone, man. Like,
I'm surprised he's not asking questions about that. Like, he's like literally been living under a rock.
Yeah. Like, wouldn't you be somewhat interested in what's going on? But bigger fish.
Former employer, like,
Yeah. He's like, oh, Darth Vader. Like, what happened? Like, oh, dude.
Don't ask.
Don't ask. I mean, I don't know. Did they even know? Did they just assume that he blew up on would the general public assume that he got blown up on the Death Star with the Emperor? Probably do. Yeah,
I think so. I mean, it's not like the funeral pyre was televised or anything. That was sort of like a personal thing.
It wasn't like Luke didn't just like, maybe that that was after the party. He'd actually gone to the party before with Vader's body like propping it up, like, look at me, and then he was like, well, I'll go burn it now, and
Weekend at Vader's.
Weekend at Vader's. Brrr. Yep. So he goes into Mos Eisley. That's cool. Catches up with the Pikes, and the Pikes are like, "Hey, man, no, we're happy to pay off one person for protection, but we ain't paying two people off for protection here. Like, this ain't happening." And he's just like, it's just like the biker gang, and I thought there was like 10 guys, like, and he already beat them up. So I thought that was a little bit weird.
Well, they've got a pretty well established symbol. There's obviously a bit of a community going.
Yeah. There's probably a whole bunch of them and stuff. So Boba Fett's like, yeah, all right, well, I'll go back and I'll figure that out. And then he gets back, and of course the that Star Wars trope of coming back and the whole place has been burnt to the ground, and yeah. So whether it's the Pikes who did it, or whether it was the bikers, or whether it was both of them together, or whatever, and so that was a bit sad. And obviously he had to clean up and things, and that's why it was kind of like the tone was kind of a little bit sort of up all over the place. And then was it the little kid's stick that he picked up at the end? I assume it probably was.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm gonna miss that beaten stick.
The beatings he used to give me with this. Oh.
Yeah, I'm gonna miss that little scamp. Yeah, I mean, I sort of felt like that was probably on the cards. There was some talk of like maybe he would use the Sand People later on in the show or something, or use that relationship and and bring him back, or try to give he was all doing the whole thing to give the control of the planet basically essentially back to the Sand People and stuff, to the Tuskens. But I mean, that
the way he was talking about it in the in the meeting, it's like he has like a personal stake. He's talking about, oh, they've been here since the oceans dried up. So he's like, he was on their side.
Yeah. So I don't know now. Like, is he now just all about revenge? So is it sort of just shifted to basically revenge now? Because it's not like he's won over every like tribe of Tusken Raiders. Like,
no, yeah, like
if he turns up and he goes through this all and he wins control of the planet, and he's like, I'm just going to go and tell the Tusken that it's theirs. They'll just be like, we don't know you. Like, you know those other guys that died. We're going to shoot you on sight.
Turns out that those Tusken Raiders are the absolute low bar. They're just like, oh, those nerds. Oh,
yeah, the freaking worms. Yeah.
Why do you think they're right there by themselves?
Yeah, well, good effort winning those losers over.
But yeah, like I think obviously it is very personal. Like the second the Pikes got brought up again, he was mad. He was like,
yeah,
he's real invested.
Yeah, he's got a grudge. And then it was like after that, I'm like, oh, okay, they've done the flashback, and I thought, okay, that's cool. And then it's just like all of a sudden shit's on in the bedroom, like the rumble in the bedroom. Black Chrysanthemum is just like pulling him out of the thing in his underpants, and and it was like, have you seen Eastern Promises, the movie with Viggo Mortensen?
Yeah.
And there's like the beat down in the men's like spa thing, and they're all like in the nude. Man. That's what it was like. It was like the Eastern Promises. Pretty brutal.
Yeah, no, it was a nice little fight. Like the electrified knuckle dusters was a cool touch.
Yeah, and then the bikers, the gang got involved. The Teen Titans.
I'm not liking this trend of Boba being like pretty much fatally on the ropes and then needing to get bailed out. That's twice now. That
he's just a man. He's just a man. In his underpants. Like, first he got beaten up in his pajamas, then he got beaten up in his underpants.
What a wardrobe.
Where's the Black Series figure of that Boba Fett underpants in bedroom fight playset? So yeah, the biker kids they turn up, they come help out. I'm gonna be waiting for the inevitable. Like, as soon as the girl sort of leader came in and stabbed Black Crescent, I'm like, oh, the freaking angry sexist YouTuber boys aren't gonna like this one bit. That the girl came in and got a few shots in on the big giant Wookiee, but that was quite cool. The Gomrian guards got involved, and then did you see it coming, dropping in the Rancor pit? Once they kind of got him in that room, I'm like, they're gonna drop
everybody. Everybody, as soon as everybody was like sort of standing in that position, it's like, he's in the center where the trap door is.
Well, they even like put the like in the intro, like the recap, because I watched it tonight because I watched it with Kat and she hadn't seen the other episodes. And I'm just like, oh, she's like, I'll just watch it. And then they even like, at the start they showed the clip of them dropping the assassin in the pit and like going, oh, there's nobody in there. Da 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 da.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, they're obviously dropping this dude in the pit, like just to make him even more cross. Like just beat the crap out of him, like throw a knife in his hand and then drop him into a pit.
He got stabbed more than a couple of times, like with Boba's like Tusken Raider stick. That was like hanging out of him
I know.
for a good portion of the fight, and they just sort of like left him in there like without any medical attention.
It's like, you'll be right. You're a Wookiee. You'll be okay.
He is quite tough though. Like he was throwing people around like rag dolls.
Oh yeah, I think he probably would have, he would have finished Boba up pretty quick, I reckon. If I mean, Boba needs his gear as well. Like I said, he was just in his undies. It's it's always a bit tricky, but yeah, I did enjoy that. That was quite good. It was like, oh yeah, this is like a proper throwdown. It was
especially once the what are the pig guys called again?
Gamorrean guards.
Gamorrean guards. Once they got involved, I was actually a lot more keen. Like that was like proper slugfest. Like
Yeah,
that was tackling around and everyone's screaming. That's a fight you want to see.
It was like they're just standing there, just like punching each other in the face, like just standing at each, like right in each other's faces, just repeatedly hitting each other. Everything's like, that's cool. I'm just trying to think what else happens. Oh yeah, and of course, and then the Hutts come back.
Yeah, and they basically just come back to say goodbye.
Yeah, which it seems a little bit suspicious.
Like I hope. I don't think they're gone. I definitely hope they're not gone for good. Like, it's a fun presence they have.
I know, like leave Dennis and Sweet D there for all. I want them. And then like you get your double banger, you get your Rancor, and you get your MF and Danny Trejo.
Yeah, what a solid special guest casting. They're like, oh, so who's man enough to train a Rancor? It's like, oh, well, that's got to be Danny Trejo.
Fuck the Rancor. Put Danny Trejo in the pit. You don't need a Rancor. You just put Machete in there, and like you fall down there, and just like, I'm gonna fuck you up, and you're just like, oh no, bring the Rancor back, please.
Standing there with the overcoat, he just opens it, and it's just
Machete. Don't do Rancors. The Rancor looked great though. Like as a kid who's grown up on slightly shonky puppet Rancor from Return of the Jedi, that's been fixed up a little bit with CG in the special editions and things. Like it was cool. It was cool having in there, and it seems Boba Fett's going to be riding a Rancor at some stage.
Yeah, like it's obviously a big deal for him. He's just sort of like, oh god, I really want to ride that thing.
I know. Well, that'll get him some respect walking downtown.
Oh yeah, like instead of getting carried on a barge, if you're walking around with a Rancor, people are going to give you some tribute.
Yeah, people are going to start noticing. Like even if you have got the world's lamest biker gang in your tow, like you've still got like a Rancor, up front. That's okay.
Oh god, I hope he gets some kind of uniform or something. Just
like a little bellhop uniform with a little hat and a little like waistcoat or something.
That'd be better.
I was just thinking of like those little monkeys that with the symbols and things. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, they've got. I can't wait to see some more of their gadgets. Like the guy's got that one guy has like the weird jackhammer foot. It was obviously it worked great in the situation he was in, but kind of a weird one.
Kind of feels like it's like you said for a very specific situation. The rest of the time, probably not that helpful. So yeah, I don't know whether these kids have lost a limb and they've got a prosthetic in there, or whether it's just a trendy thing. And it's all very sort of Cyberpunk 2077 or whatever, that game that I paid $80 for and didn't play for longer than half an hour.
Oh wow, you actually paid for it. Oh no,
I got it as a Christmas present. I know, and I've gone back 3 or 4 times to try and play it, and I just haven't. Like one day I'll go back again. I'll try again.
No, you won't.
Nah, I probably won't. I'll probably just play Red Dead Redemption again or something. Something that I like.
But he's amassing his posse. Like he's Rancor,
Yeah.
street toughs.
Rancor street toughs. They're just like local street toughs. Yeah, that's they're like. What are you? We're local street toughs. We're the.
Do their parents know where they are?
Yeah,
Like,
it's just like, hey, Bob, like I gotta call my mum and let them know that we're hanging out at the Jabba's palace, you know, or I've got to at least say that I'm at one of the other guys' friends' houses, so they don't know where I am because they'll get mad and I might get cut. My allowance might get cut off. I don't. Yeah, why not? But yeah, like you said, he's got a bit of bulk now. Like he's got a couple of Gamorrean guards. He's obviously got Fennec Shand. He's got the biker gang, and now like the Rancor does bring a little bit of beef to the thing. But I don't want the Rancor to fight. Like I just want him to ride it.
yeah. Well, it as well. Like it sounds like it's just a Danny Trejo called it a calf. Like it's young. Like it's probably not fight ready.
Yeah. Well, they do have Danny Trejo as well. That probably makes it. You know, just put him at the front.
Oh, if he doesn't get to, kill at least one pike trying to get into the palace, then what a waste.
Yeah, what are we doing here? Why are you bringing him in? I'm just trying to think what else happened after that. So they got the Rancor. He does a little thing about talking about he wants to bond with it and all sort of thing. And then they have that little dinner, they have a little feast.
So the Hutts come. They basically, they've given him the Rancor. They tell him they're booking because apparently the mayor's said this is going to be pike territory.
Yeah, the mayor's just sold him out, which we all kind of knew was going to happen. So I guess the slight fake out is that apparently it's not the Hutts that are behind it; it's the pikes and the mayor's just sort of taking his little cream off the top.
Pretty convenient for Boba. It's just sort of like, oh, the pikes are the bad guys. I hated those guys anyway.
Yeah, that's handy. I don't have to mess with the Hutts. And the Hutts are just like, fuck this planet. It's a shithole anyway.
like, look around, Boba. This place sucks.
Which is really weird because, like, one of the running jokes in Star Wars is like, apparently the arse end of the galaxy has all this stuff happen here. You know what I mean? Like, it's always like, oh, all these things always come back to Tatooine. We always come back to Tatooine. You know, what's so special about it?
It must be like just in the middle of two really great things, and you can't get to either one of them without stopping in at Tatooine to like refuel and stuff. It must be literally just the most happening pit stop, and everybody's got to get through it.
It's just like, positionally really handy. You know, it's like the United Emirates. It was basically, there was nothing there. It was desert, but it had oil. So they built all these cities there, and then they just ran airports through it because in order to get to everywhere in the world, you kind of have to go through there. So maybe.
Sounds like Tatooine.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, there's obviously rich kids on Tatooine as well because we saw those biker gangs with their little shiny bikes. So they turn up at the mayor's office, and he's not there. And then they just let that douchebag guy just lock them out of the thing. And then we just get this really bizarre, like half-paced wacky races through the streets of Mos Espa, which was cool. Like it's television, like it's pretty impressive for television, but it just felt weird.
Yeah, it's just cutting through stalls. Oh, the one guy like ran through a painting. Hilarious.
Oh, the painting of Jabba? Yeah, that was quite funny. Yeah, that was quite funny. But I was, that was almost like those hilarious, like, oh, it's a plate glass window or something like that. Or it's a, that's the whole thing. Like,
the rickshaw guy who was like, oh, gotta get across the road. And then they wing him and he does like a perfect spin. And it's just like, oh, what was that?
Yeah, like, whoa, 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 whoa.
It was a little weird. I mean, look at the guy they were chasing. It was just like the weird mayor's aide. It wasn't going to be like a big.
Yeah, it seemed like it was a suitable threat for that level of biker gang to probably be able to handle. As soon as they actually have to come up against. I know they got a few shots in on the big Wookiee and stuff, but this seemed like more their pace.
They were probably loving it. It's just sort of like, yeah, we do this stuff anyway. This is great.
Yeah, we do this very, very low level. Adventuring and stuff.
These speeder bikes don't go very fast. This is perfect for us.
Yeah, we got to get back to Cotton On and get some more groovy clothes.
It was great having Boba's just drop in at there at the end, just perfect. Like, oh hey, here I am.
I just walked around the corner, and you guys just did the lap of the same block 4 times. And I just
you should have just panned out, and they're literally just outside the mayor's office.
Yeah, they just pull that. They're like, oh, we've just gone around a big old circle, haven't we? Oh, oh well. Yeah, and then they just kind of find out that the Pikes are there, and then it seems like the Pikes are coming back to sort of muscle in on the territory. So, I mean, my understanding is it seems like they're making a move on the whole enchilada, basically.
Yeah. They might like if the flashbacks go further, it might have Boba trying to retaliate against the Pikes. Maybe he drives them out temporarily, but they are back now.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I mean, as far as the timeline goes, like Mandalorian, when we meet back up with Boba Fett, is 5 or 6 years after Return of the Jedi, and this has got to be 6 months at best. Like, he's only.
Well, yeah, you were saying like they were just putting stormtrooper helmets up.
So it seems like he's still got 5 years of gap in between, where he is in that flashback and where he is now. Is he just going, all right, well, I just wandered the desert for 5 years, or
it's an interesting gap to fill.
Yeah.
They'll probably at some point they'll have to make a reference where he's just sort of like, ooh, I've got a lead on my armor now, or he hears about Fennec getting taken out into the desert by whatever that young bounty hunter was, and going to fetch her. Like they'll drop in like a real on the nose tie into Mandalorian.
Yeah, like is he just
like that's their bridge?
Yeah, has he just been walking the desert for 5 years, consumed by anger, or what? What's he been doing? I guess we'll see. But I mean, it's interesting because like I kind of thought that he's in that Bacta all the time because like the Sarlacc is kind of poisoning him.
He's done, yeah.
He's kind of slowly being poisoned from that Bacta, and that's why he's kind of in there all the time. But he's only just got that Bacta tank recently. I assume hasn't gone in the desert. So is he just getting sicker and sicker, or does he? There's
just one tent in the Tusken Raiders that has like a full operating Bacta tank. Yeah. It's like, oh my god,
we're living large out here, Yeah, so I'm not too sure, but I mean, maybe he gets really ill. Maybe he gets really ill from the Sarlacc poisoning, and he's he passes out, or he's something happened. You know what I mean? Like that puts him out of commission for a while, and he wakes up and he's like, all right, I got to be in this Bacta on the regular, or else I'm never going to get better. But
yeah, it seems like a nightly thing.
Yeah, he has these sweet dreams and things.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think how we end it. Basically, he catches wind that the Pikes are here and they want to take over, and he's kind of just like, all right, well, time to get an army together, time to get my 2 guards, my 1 person in charge, my Rancor, my biker gang, and Danny Trejo. We go F some stuff up.
Yeah, so I guess episode 4 recruitment, getting a enlistment drive going.
Yeah, I don't know.
Sure. I definitely think the best thing they did in this episode was showing more of the ground level Mos Espa, and so like they need to do a bit more of that if they're gonna get me to care as a viewer, to be honest. Like, if he goes out there and he's starting to try to rally people and say like, oh hey, these Pikes are bad news, I'm good news. Let's work together on this one, and just like getting to see a bit more about. I mean, he hasn't even really offered anybody anything in terms of like, oh, I'm going to be a good leader, like, or anything. It's just like he needs to get out there.
Yeah,
and start learning about the area.
The first person who came to him with a suggestion on how to do that, he basically just went with the other guys and gave him half the money he was owed and told him to shut up. It was like, dude, no wonder nobody wants to help you.
Yeah,
you ran in with the no Gutnick kids, and then I gave him a job.
I feel bad for Fennec. She's obviously the only one in the organization that has a brain, and she's just sort of like, oh god, why aren't I in charge?
Yeah, she's like, all right, I'm just going to sit here and eat instead. Someone's got to eat all this delicious looking food. Still, you know what? It's Star Wars. It's still good fun.
It's great.
It's just weird that in the middle of this, for the most part, pretty wacky episode, there was that really heavy sort of like the Tuskens have died, and that's the motivation. And then it kind of felt like either side of it, we were getting this sort of playful Robert Zemeckis directed 1980s kind of, fun little romp.
Yeah, it's a show. It feels like it's being made by multiple people, and not in the best way.
Yeah, it's just weird because like the action, like that action last week on that train, like was so cut tight. You know, with the pace was so good and it was so like.
Oh, that was great.
But I know it's a super fast train and it's people jumping and fighting on a train, and this is like some motorbikes in some streets, and you know, geographically and trying to run around stuff and get around obstacles, it probably would be that's what it was. But yeah, it just seemed a little bit weird. But you know what? That's okay. It's Star Wars. It's good fun. I'd rather have it than not have it. And
I'm barely complaining.
it's just fun to laugh at as well.
Oh, of course.
All right, mate. Brilliant.
I think that covers everything.
I think we've covered it all. Where do we go from here? Like you said, amassing the army.
Yeah, recruitment and just sort of, trying to prove himself a little more. Like we'll definitely
win some hearts and minds.
Yeah, we'll get a bit more flashback and probably have him taking on the biker gang again or Pikes or whatever. But I think, yeah, like they're probably going to start doing less and less time in the flashbacks and more time of him on the ground, which is the way it should be.
Absolutely. All right, great. Wow, thanks everybody for checking in. We're going to put this bad boy up straight away so you can listen. Thanks for downloading. And people have been listening, Eli. You may or may not know this, but people are downloading and listening, and it sounds like people are enjoying your hot takes. So
cool.
We'll keep that rolling. And yeah, we'll see you later on.
Yeah, no. Till next week.
Till next week. Thank you.